Ladies and gentlemen, John Cena's retirement is just around the corner. And as a giant John Cena fan myself, I've found myself recently reminiscing on John Cena's career and the all-star cast of rivals that this man has had throughout his entire career. And I've recently gotten into friendly arguments with some of my friends as to who is John Cena's greatest rival, because it really depends on the age of the person that you ask. Some people will say Brock Lesnar, some people will say AJ Styles, some people dare to say Roman Reigns. So today, I am going to give a definitive answer to this question as to who is John Cena's greatest definitive rival of his entire career. And we're gonna do this by putting about 50 of John Cena's rivals throughout his entire career into one single elimination tournament to determine who is John Cena's greatest foe. And as always, don't forget to subscribe to this channel, ring the bell for notification. If you're a wrestling fan, I know that you're gonna fall in love with this YouTube channel because we always upload daily wrestling content. And I think this is a perfect video to let you know that on Patreon, we're currently doing the John Cena World Championship Series Ranked, where we're watching and ranking every single John Cena World Championship win and every single one of his World Championship losses. So go check it out. That's currently ongoing over on the Patreon. Link in the description, link in the pinned comment, and you also get all of the other insane amounts of content that we post over there. All right, that's enough. Let's jump into the tournament. All right, let's go ahead and get started. Our first matchup is Kurt Angle versus John Laryngitis. And if any of you are picking Laurinaitis, you are an insane human being and you do not know ball. The answer for sure is Kurt Angle. Don't get me wrong, I don't think that Kurt Angle is going to be winning this, but John Cena and Kurt Angle had some pretty fun fights. To me, No Way Out 2005 is a really fun one. Their feud on Monday Night Raw when Kurt Angle was aligned with Daivari was a pretty solid one. And of course, the most iconic confrontation that they had was Ruthless Aggression, the debut of John Cena. Meanwhile, John Laurinaitis, if you can believe it, this feud did end in a PLE match that main evented. It main evented a PLE that had a CM Punk versus Daniel Bryan match for the WWE Championship. Just remember that, okay? Just remember that. But Kurt Angle is winning this for sure. Next, we have Roman Reigns or Rene Dupree. Who could forget the feud with Rene Dupree for the United States Championship? Listen, I don't think that Roman is like an S-tier John Cena rival. Yeah, but it's obviously I'm picking Roman Reigns over Rene Dupree. I kind of, as a meme, want to pick Rene Dupree. Maybe I can make some justifications there, but I just simply can't. The answer is for sure the tribal chief, Roman Reigns. Next, we have Cody Rhodes or CM Punk. The Cody Rhodes stuff is still rather recent. Short, they've had matches in the past before with John Cena versus Cody Rhodes happening when the focus was John Cena versus Randy Orton when Cody Rhodes was part of Legacy. But really, beyond that, there's nothing really that's memorable aside from what they've done here really recently since WrestleMania 41, which was a stinker of a match and a terrible build-up for their match. Their SummerSlam match, to me, is a 5-star classic. I love their SummerSlam match, but it doesn't save what was ultimately a pretty bad feud between the two. CM Punk, on the other hand, this is a guy that's going to be in contention to win. Now, when it comes to the CM Punk feud, I do believe that it is heavily weighted on their amazing Summer of Punk 2011 feud, but there were some great matches outside of the year 2011, but it's predominantly carried by everything that happened in the lead up to Money in the Bank 2011, SummerSlam 2011, and whatnot. CM Punk is winning this. Next, we have The Miz or Shawn Michaels. Both of them had matches with John Cena at WrestleMania. The Miz actually beat John Cena technically at WrestleMania 27. Shawn Michaels lost to John Cena at WrestleMania 23. In terms of quality of matches, like, listen, it doesn't get bigger and better than the stuff that John Cena were doing. John Cena and Shawn Michaels, that fantastic match at WrestleMania 23, the great match that they had on the Monday Night Raw in the UK, that awesome fatal four-way that had rated RKO. There's some really, really great matches between Shawn Michaels and John Cena that I just don't think get talked about enough. The Miz, listen, he's a big John Cena like rival. He absolutely is. But I just don't think he's that good of a rival compared to some of the other names that are here. Sure, the peak was that they feuded at WrestleMania 27, a WrestleMania main event that many people consider to be arguably one of the worst main events in WrestleMania history. And yeah, sure, they had a couple versus couple match at a WrestleMania, John Cena and Nikki Bella when they were still together against Mist and Maryse, but I'm going to go with Shawn Michaels here. Come on. There we go. Next up, we have Eddie Guerrero and The Rock. Now, I love the Eddie Guerrero feud when they ended up having their backlot brawl. I am going to go with The Rock here. Obviously, we have 2 WrestleMania matches. The stuff that happened at WrestleMania 40. You can talk about like the real life beef and feud that they had leading into their WrestleMania match. So I'm going to go with The Rock here. Umaga or Rob Van Dam? The Rob Van Dam feud was a lot of fun, mostly because it culminated in a really awesome way in their match at One Night Stand 2006, where Rob Van Dam cashed in his Money in the Bank, pre-announced the match, and had what is a legendary match, an absolutely legendary match between these two that was made legendary because of the atmosphere and the crowd, but it really didn't go beyond that. They had more back and forth after One Night Stand, but it was a feud that really only lasted like 2 months, a month and a half. The Umaga feud, that thing is iconic. I love this feud. The culmination in their insane match at the Royal Rumble that year, 2007, was fantastic. He's like the prototypical John Cena like feud that you wanna have. I'm taking Umaga here. Christian or Solo Sikoa? The Christian feud was really short-lived. It was a lot of fun. This was John Cena's first foray as WWE champion, where they were just sort of putting different names in front of him, like Chris Jericho, like Christian, until eventually he found his footing with the likes of Edge as his forever partner in Forever Feud. Solo Sikoa was pretty underwhelming in their feud. Neither of these are particularly great. I will go with Solo Sikoa. Stephanie McMahon or Seth Rollins? I don't really think that this should really be here. I don't think that they had that iconic of like a relationship of superstar versus authority figure. The Seth Rollins stuff was pretty decent. It could have been better. Maybe there's still room to continue to build the legacy of John Cena versus Seth Rollins. There's still time in this retirement tour, and they're both there, and they're both at the top of the pyramid. So sure, we'll go Seth. AJ Styles or JBL? Okay, listen, this is hard. This is hard because in terms of match quality, it's AJ Styles. And let me clarify that it's not even close, like in terms of match quality. However, the JBL feud is what put John Cena on the map. It is what ultimately catapulted John Cena to the megastardom that he would ultimately end up having. And sure, their match at WrestleMania 21 was meh. I would say less than okay. I recently just watched it for Patreon. But their Judgment Day match and their follow-up after WrestleMania 21 was a classic. One of the bloodiest matches that I've ever seen. I'm leaning towards going towards JBL here, but also at the same time, I'm being won over by the fact that John Cena had a trilogy of fantastic matches, which culminated in number 16, right? One of John Cena's, you can arguably say, his most iconic championship win of his career, because it ended up being what ties him with Ric Flair. More iconic than his 17, if you ask me. This one was really hard. I would have loved to have both of these go deeper. I'm gonna go AJ Styles, but I'm telling you, JBL would be beating like 9 out of 10 contestants that I put in front of it. I'm going AJ. Kane or Ryback? Neither of these are particularly inspiring. I guess I'll go with the Ryback feud. They had a handful of matches. Sancho, my partner in Wrestling is Cool podcast, he's doing a Ryback in review, and he recently watched the John Cena and Ryback matches, and he said they weren't bad. They had that ambulance match where John Cena puts Ryback through the ambulance and wins that way. Sure, I guess guess I'll go with Ryback. The whole embrace the hate stuff with Kane never landed with me. I'll go Ryback. Orlando Jordan or Rusev. The Orlando Jordan feud, kind of underrated. I'm not going to lie, for the U.S. Championship. The Rusev feud is where it's at, though. I do think it's like a really, really solid feud, and it's what jump-started the John Cena U.S. Open Challenge. It culminated in that match at WrestleMania. What was the number? WrestleMania 31? Yeah, I think it was 31 for the U.S. title, where Rusev came out in a frickin' tank. Yeah, I'm going to go with Rusev. Booker T or Brock Lesnar? The Booker T stuff was pretty good. It was pretty solid between these two in the Ruthless Aggression era days. The answer is Brock Lesnar. We'll talk more at length when we run into Brock Lesnar again, because there's a pretty one-sided history between these two. John Cena has only ever beaten Brock Lesnar once, but yeah, Brock Lesnar's moving on. Dolph Ziggler or Daniel Bryan? Yeah, I'm gonna go. Neither of these are particularly like inspiring. You know, they've had great matches. Don't get me wrong. Daniel Bryan, John Cena, SummerSlam 2013 was absolutely brilliant. An awesome match. One of John Cena's best matches of his career, if you ask me. Yeah. For that, I'll go Daniel Bryan. Randy Orton or the Great Khali? Yeah, I'm sorry. The Great Khali feud, I think, gets given a lot more credit than it deserves. I thought that this feud was poo-poo. I did not like it. I thought it was bad. But the Randy Orton stuff, iconic. We'll talk more at length when we run into Randy again. Alberto Del Rio or Shamus? They did feud a decent amount. The U.S. Championship feud, the WWE Championship feud between Alberto Del Rio and John Cena. No one particularly loved it. I don't think many people loved Sheamus versus John Cena either, though. With Sheamus kind of winning that WWE Championship in the tables match, that it kind of seemed like luck. You know, it wasn't particularly a very inspiring feud. I'll go with Alberto here. R-Truth or Mark Henry? Listen, the Mark Henry feud was one cycle, right? It was one PLE cycle, but it gave us the iconic fake retirement spot between John Cena and Mark Henry. That was awesome. I'm weirdly leaning towards Truth here, because it led to the We Want Truth movement, his like out of nowhere return at Money in the Bank this year. Now, it didn't amount to anything really when you think about it, but it was so unique with how socially driven this feud was, and basically forced upon WWE to do something with this feud. Now, in terms of segments, the fake retirement, legendary, but I'm gonna go with R-Truth here. Oh, and by the way, when it came to the R-Truth one, let's not forget, 2011, Little Jimmy and the Capital Punishment match. Terrible PLE, but they had more, of a feud than Mark Henry and John Cena actually did. Moving on here, Kevin Owens or Wade Barrett. I love the Kevin Owens little saga that John Cena had. Again, in the mid-2010s, John Cena was just sort of going through like a midlife crisis and just having matches and feuds with anybody and having great matches and doing weird moves like springboard stunners. I'll go with Wade Barrett. I don't like this era of WWE, but John Cena versus the Nexus and Wade Barrett is a pretty iconic feud, especially for people that grew up in that era of professional wrestling. I'll go with Wade. Nikki Bella. Why is Nikki Bella a greatest rival? Or Seth Rollins? Who the hell put this in here? You know what? Seth Rollins isn't that big of a John Cena rival. So I guess I'll go with Nikki Bella purely because of that episode of Total Divas, Total Bellas. I'll go with Nikki Bella for the lulz. Batista or Edge? I wish the Batista feud was bigger than it was. It never reached the heights that it should have, because they did it too late, if you ask me. And when they finally did it, Batista's career was starting to basically wind down in the WWE. The Edge feud, this thing is legendary, right? Like, this thing took up like 4 years, 4 years of storytelling from like 2005 to 2009. These guys were a constant war with each other. The only crime of the Edge feud is that they never had a match at WrestleMania one-on-one. The only one that they had was WrestleMania 25, with the Big Show being inserted in there. At least Batista and John Cena were able to do the WrestleMania match and the SummerSlam match. But the answer is Edge here. Rusev or Solo Sikoa? I'm pretty comfortable here going with Rusev. The Big Show or CM Punk? Dude, I can't stand the Big Show. You guys all know this if you've been watching this channel for any expanded amount of time. I'm just not a fan. I'm not a fan of the Big Show. I did not like the stuff that Big Show and John Cena did in the 2010s. Sure, they had that SummerSlam triple threat match for the WWE Championship with CM Punk. And yes, the Big Show's feud with John Cena at WrestleMania 20 is what gave John Cena his first ever championship win in the WWE, the United States Championship, and was one of like the big jumping off points of this Doctor of Thugonomics character that got hugely over with the crowd. But yeah, CM Punk for sure was winning here, no doubt. The Undertaker or Bray Wyatt, look, the Undertaker Deadman feud in the late 2010s, horrible, garbage. The 3-minute WrestleMania match is a travesty. They did have a little feud in the Ruthless Aggression era days with Biker Taker, but nothing particularly memorable. People don't even know that match in that feud even happened. They think that Taker and Cena only faced off once at WrestleMania, but no, there was some Ruthless Aggression era stuff. The Bray Wyatt stuff, I always thought could have been better, especially their first time around. But then the second time around, when we had the Fiend Bray Wyatt and the Firefly Funhouse, I thought they absolutely knocked it out of the park. The answer is Bray Wyatt. Not to mention they had 2 WrestleMania encounters. It's an easy one, Bray. Austin Theory or Dean Ambrose? I mean, neither of them are particularly inspiring here. I guess I'll go with Austin Theory. Alberto Del Rio or Kurt Angle? I feel pretty comfortable going with Kurt Angle between these two. Shawn Michaels or Elias? I mean, not particularly a memorable one here. Sure, they interrupted. He got interrupted at WrestleMania by John Cena doing the whole Doctor of Thugonomics thing at WrestleMania 35. But really beyond that, like who's remembering Elias as a John Cena opponent? Answer Shawn Michaels. Vince McMahon or Triple H? John Cena and Vince McMahon never really had a great like rivalry between each other. I think the closest one was like when Cena was like forcefully fired for losing the championship to CM Punk, and then Vince McMahon getting fired because the board no longer had any sort of trust in him, which forced them to bring back John Cena. There really wasn't much there between these two, and you would have thought that with John Cena being the ultimate good guy and Vince McMahon being like a diabolical human being, that you would have naturally really leaned into this being a feud, but they never really did. Even in the late Ruthless Aggression era, when Vince was a proper on-screen character, he spent all of his time feuding with the likes of Hulk Hogan, with the likes of Triple H and Shawn Michaels in DX, but they never really crossed paths with John Cena in like a really like intimate, strong way, which I think is a shame because I think they could have done some good stuff together. Triple H, look, we had that big match at WrestleMania 22. We had several back and forth matches in the in the late Ruthless Aggression era, early PG era stuff. I'll go with Triple H. I really like their program at WrestleMania 22. By the way, Mania 22, highly underrated. I love that WrestleMania. R-Truth or AJ Styles? AJ Styles for sure. Baron Corbin or Lita? Dude, okay, listen, Baron Corbin is not winning this. The answer is Lita, and this is a hilarious, underrated choice because John Cena was so verbally ruthless and said some of the most awful things you can say about somebody on TV to Lita in this feud with Edge. She was an extension of the Edge feud. Sure, I'll go with Lita here. Wade Barrett or Randy Orton? Pretty comfortable here going with Randy. We're talking about these guys feuding in 3 separate decades: the 2000s, the 2010s, and the 2020s. This is an easy one. Randy Orton's moving on. The Rock or Ryback? Oh, super close one. Just kidding. The Rock for sure. Carlito or Chris Jericho? Dude, this is like, you're gonna think I'm making this shit up if you weren't around in the Ruthless Aggression era. The Carlito feud had John Cena getting stabbed at a nightclub by Carlito's like henchmen. Cena got stabbed in a nightclub. That's what was part of the Carlito feud. It's pretty crazy that Carlito on his debut also beat John Cena for that United States Championship. The Chris Jericho feud, underrated. They really had two feuds. The 2005 feud where John Cena was announced as the first draft pick in the draft for Monday Night Raw, and that was announced in the highlight reel, and then they ended up having a SummerSlam program with one another, which was a really, really solid program. Their 2008 program was really good. Their Survivor Series 2008 match was really, really strong as well. I'm going to go with Chris Jericho, even though Cena got stabbed in a nightclub. All right, say Jericho. Daniel Bryan or Brock Lesnar, pretty comfortable going with Brock Lesnar. Talking a little bit more at length here, I guess the reason why you would have this is because Cena's only ever beaten Lesnar once. And funny enough, the match that he won is the match he shouldn't have won. The match when Brock Lesnar came back to the WWE, coming back from the UFC after like an 8-year hiatus, John Cena magically did Super Cena and won at Extreme Rules 2012. But every other match, John Cena has gotten eaten alive by Brock Lesnar. Early Ruthless Aggression era days, before John Cena even had a character, he got eaten by Brock Lesnar. Doctor of Thugonomics days, he got eaten by Brock Lesnar like 2 times, including a pretty bloody match at Backlash in the 2000s. Then Lesnar comes back, Cena wins, and then SummerSlam, he gets eaten alive. And now here we are again in the retirement tour revisiting Brock Lesnar. Yeah, I mean, Daniel Bryan, again, only like one proper feud between these two. I'm easily going Lesnar here. Umaga or Roman Reigns? Hey, 2 Samoans. I'm going to go with the scarier Samoan. I'm going to go with Umaga here. AJ Styles or Brock Lesnar? We are in the round of 16 now, so we are coming down to the wire. I lean more towards AJ Styles. I really do. I think that the Brock Lesnar feud is mostly underwhelming matches, with the exception of the crazy Extreme Rules match 2012. But AJ Styles, man, it was just awesome match after awesome match after awesome match with a really solid program, story, you know, the stuff with the Good Brothers, beat up John Cena. I'm going to go AJ. Austin Theory or Shawn Michaels? Not even close. Shawn Michaels for sure. Lita or Rusev? Look, Edge is still in here, which basically includes the Lita aspect of the feud. So I'll go with Rusev. Edge or The Rock? Again, 2 WrestleMania matches. That's grand and all. No WrestleMania matches, which is a shame. But the answer is Edge. Again, we're talking about like half a decade of these guys just going to war with one another. And it honestly would have been longer. It probably would have been a whole decade had Edge's neck problems not arise, because that stole like a huge portion of Edge's prime in the WWE, where it would have basically been him and John Cena as the 2 top guys in the WWE for a really, really long time. They probably would have feuded even more, but even in the short amount of time that they were in the WWE together, they put on some magical matches. My favorite is so far is the Unforgiven match between them, the TLC match. So yeah, we're gonna go Edge. Nikki Bella or Randy Orton? Okay, we'll go with Randy. Umaga or Bray Wyatt? I'm pretty comfortable going with Bray Wyatt here, although I don't think that Bray Wyatt and Cena were ever able to put on a match that was as good as the Royal Rumble match between Cena and Umaga. But the long-lasting nature of this, the fact that it stood the test of time in the sense that it was 2 different versions of Bray Wyatt that John Cena got to feud with, is a pretty unique selling point as well. So I'll go with Bray. Triple H or CM Punk? Pretty comfortable going with CM Punk here. This is the last match of this round. Chris Jericho or Kurt Angle? I'm gonna go with Chris Jericho. Again, the Kurt Angle stuff is really like memorable because it's what launched John Cena. The Ruthless Aggression will always be played until the end of time, right? Like that is a moment, a heritage moment in WWE history. But pound for pound, belt for belt, like the Jericho feud is better. It just is. I'm gonna go with Jericho. Bray Wyatt or CM Punk? I think this is where I feel comfortable putting CM Punk over Bray Wyatt. I think Bray Wyatt had a really solid run, but man, the 1-year stuff in 2011 between CM Punk and John Cena is just too damn good to pass up. I'm going with CM Punk. Rusev and Shawn Michaels? I'll go with Shawn here. AJ Styles or Randy Orton? I was actually kind of banking on this being the final, which it's a shame that they're running into each other in the round of 8, but yeah, we're gonna go with Randy here. And then I think this is the final match of this round. We have Chris Jericho or Edge. The answer is Edge. All right, semifinal, Shawn Michaels, Edge. Last thought about the Shawn Michaels stuff. It is pretty cool that they were both tag team champions with each other going into their WrestleMania 23 program. And again, great matches with the two, but Edge. The answer is Edge. And I'm telling you, it's not even close right here. It's Edge. CM Punk and Randy Orton. I like Randy here a little bit more. Just okay, this is a little bit harder. In terms of overall, like the amount that they feuded, Randy Orton is just this forever villain for John Cena, but like quality, the CM Punk stuff is better. Like think even about like the modern stuff, what just happened going into Night of Champions earlier this year, John Cena's pipe bomb, the CM Punk Doctor of Thugonomics or Punkonomics. This was the feud that gave us the legendary pipe bomb, the amazing, one of my favorite matches of all time, Money in the Bank 2011 match. But again, the majority of like all of the great stuff that Cena and Punk did together, and there was some good stuff before that, it's encapsulated to 1 year. Meanwhile, Randy and Cena, we're like talking about like 10 years worth of work that they have together. So even though I think pound for pound, like the quality of the stuff between CM Punk and John Cena was better, in terms of a more iconic rival, it is Randy. So I'm going to go there. And look at that. The final that we all probably predicted, rated RKO in the final, Randy Orton or Edge. Had Edge still been in the WWE to be able to be part of the send-off of John Cena's retirement tour, I might actually be going with Edge. There's a lot of things working against Edge, not being in the WWE right now to be part of the retirement tour, missing out on the entirety of the 2010s to continue to build more legacy with John Cena, which is all stuff that Randy Orton was able to do. In terms of storylines and quality of matches, I personally think that Edge and John Cena had the better stuff working together. But and that's not the question. It's not like what was the better feud. It's who is the greatest rival. And this man punted John Cena's dad. Let's not forget that, all right? I'm going to go with Randy Orton as John Cena's greatest rival of all time, ladies and gentlemen. Folks, thank you so much for watching today's video. People always ask, where do I do these? I'll throw it in the description below so that you guys can find it. It's a website that has a bunch of these different quizzes, not just for WWE, like a bunch of stuff, not sponsored, but if you're curious. All right, that's it. Goodbye. Get out of here.